This week, we are going to recap what it is like to camp in the most magical place on Earth as we talk about the Fort Wilderness Campground. Plus, a question we have been asked a lot. What is it like to tow the fifth wheel after towing a travel trailer? We're going to talk just a little bit about that. Plus, we have a magazine that's popping up into the fresh tank this week. This is the RV Miles podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by LL Bean, who makes it easy and fun to simply step outside. That might mean breaking a speed record in a rugged, built-for-fun Sonic snow tube, walking an extra block in a warm, weather-resistant down jacket, or just taking a breath on your doorstep before cozying up in a quilted sweatshirt. For however you experience the outdoors, shop clothing and gear at llbean.com. Be an outsider.
Welcome to episode 225 of the RV Miles podcast. I am Jason.
And I am Abby, and we are two full-time travelers who, along with our boys, have been crisscrossing North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk about all things RV and outdoors, including industry news, our national parks, Disney World, and a whole lot more.
We had an excellent 2 full weeks at the Fort Wilderness Campground at Walt Disney World here in Orlando, Florida. We're excited to tell you about that. We are actually coming to you from not far from there, from Moss Creek Park.
Ooh, Moss Park.
I don't know why I said Moss Creek. Why did I add a creek? There's no creek here.
Because you just want to give a reason for somebody to lovingly let us know that we were wrong.
From Moss Park, also in Orlando. We're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. Really excellent opportunity, secret kind of hidden gem here.
People got really angry at me for talking about this.
We
park.
share hidden gems.
Ooh,
Sorry.
I got in trouble.
We're going to do it.
Sorry. It's a hidden gem, and you should come to it, because what's interesting is this is only a 45-day booking window for this park. So, again, you don't have to book.
You just totally ruined my fresh tank. You're going to keep putting all the information out there.
All right, I'm going to stop talking about it, and we will talk about it in the fresh tank. Okay. Moving on.
A question we've been getting quite a bit lately, now that we have a few thousand miles under our belts towing a fifth wheel for the first time, is what the difference between towing a travel trailer as a big diesel truck goes by here.
Yeah, we're filming outside today.
We are filming outside for the first time in a very long time.
We are finally in a place warm
we're
enough.
In good weather.
That we can be outside.
But people want to know, I think we had the same question, and we've talked to other people that are in fifth wheels now as well that said, they saw fifth wheels going down the road, and they were saying, thank God I'm not driving one of those big, tall things. Looks so terrible to do. And we said the same stuff a long time ago as well. But, people have told us that driving a fifth wheel is better, and it's true. It's absolutely true. There are some positives and negatives, but that's the question that people have been asking. Like, what's the difference? And when they're looking at buying an RV, they see a travel trailer as something that seems more comfortable to tow. And now we're coming from towing a 36-foot, right? 36?
38.
38-foot travel trailer. I think it was 36, and then there was a rack on the back. We towed about as heavy of a travel trailer as I think you might want to tow. We were getting up near 10,000 pounds. So for me, I would much rather that's sort of near the line of you really want to be in a fifth wheel. But there is so much less sway, or not even sway, but the feeling of other vehicles moving you around at all with a fifth wheel. Now, we towed our travel trailer with 2 different trucks. It was much more solid with our Ram, but even then, there were times when we didn't ever go into a full sway. There was nothing ever really concerning, but when, the wind from trucks going by you, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you feel it more. And I can speak from a passenger's perspective, and also as an anxious passenger. There's no secret that I've dealt with anxiety over the years on the road. There's a different level of peace for me when it comes to being on the highway with the big trucks and knowing that we might have a windy day. Now, obviously, we still don't travel if it's dangerously windy, but windier days, you don't feel it as much. I don't feel it as much. And so I'm a little bit more comfortable on the highway in the fifth wheel, even though we're 5 feet longer and we're taller and we weigh more and all of these things than I was when we were pulling Ranger Gandalf.
And we're pulling, just for reference, for those that don't know, we're pulling with an F-350, but it's a short bed. It's single rear wheel, so we don't have a dually, we don't have the long bed, and it's still it's rock solid back there. No complaints at all. Towing the fifth wheel down the road.
And we should say too that our Sabre 37 FLL comes in at about 15,000 pounds
loaded,
as well, loaded, which is on, I think, sort of the lighter end of a big fifth wheel like we have. So, again, that was something that we were looking at when we were looking at our truck. And our truck, I think, just pulls this thing like a dream. Like, I've asked you numerous times, and you're like, I don't even know sometimes it's back there.
Now,
until we have to back it up.
Yes. So there is a difference in backing up. And I've seen people say it's identical. It is not identical.
No.
There's a big difference in backing up a fifth wheel and backing up a conventional travel trailer. The conventional travel trailer really starts to turn instantly when you turn. It's just more leverage from the bed behind the pivot point of your rear wheels to turn that. So when you make a move when you're going backwards with the travel trailer, it happens much quicker. With the fifth wheel, you be full bore all the way to the right, and you're gonna wait, and you're gonna wait, and you're waiting, and then it's gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, how often have I've been on the phone with you, and I'm like, all right, I need you to move this more to the passenger side, and you're up there, and you're like, I am full turned. The wheels are fully turned. It's just, it takes a little bit longer, and I will say too, because the progression of our travels was from the school bus conversion to the travel trailer to the fifth wheel. And when we had the school bus conversion, we were towing our minivan behind, which tracked really well. I mean, it tracked exactly as the bus. And I think in some ways the travel trailer tracked exactly as the truck did. And that transition from one to the other wasn't as jarring, I think, as what has been with the travel trailer to the fifth wheel a little bit in regards to how it tracks behind us, even
going forward.
Yeah.
It once you get used to it, you're great and you're fine.
Yeah.
And once you figure out the backing in, you're great and you're fine. It's just different. But yeah, going down the road, going forward, I should say it is a little different there too because of that tracking, like you mentioned. So when you do take a turn, you really have to be more on the outside of it.
There's been a few times where unfortunately we have not been able to take that right as wide as we would like, and I'm sitting there looking out the passenger side mirror, and I'm going, that is not, that's the curb.
Yeah. And there are lots of great tutorials online. You can go on YouTube and find some great driving lessons, even like semi-truck driving lessons and stuff, and see like how you actually make that turn when you're making a right-hand turn going out and back in, and that kind of stuff. You just sort of take the time to spend a half hour to learn about it, and you get much, much better at it.
But you've gotten really good too, and I think that this is just over time, like we're talking about with taking this right, because when you are in a city, when you're, a lot of times when you're coming out of a campground and you're headed to get onto the highway, you don't have, if it's a 2-lane especially, you don't have that wide right that you can take off, and you're dealing with oncoming traffic, and you have gotten really good about knowing that one moment, that one point where you've got to take that right in order to avoid the curb or, for whatever reason, the rocks that we all like to put
random stuff in the way,
campgrounds, exits. You've gotten really good about knowing that, but I think that that's a little bit of that is trial and error. It's just learning that feel of how your truck responds with your fifth wheel. And so, again, for anyone who's, new to this and feeling really, really nervous, not only is watching those tutorials great, but if you can find a big empty parking lot in the evening, hook it up and take it over there and have somebody just, put a few cones out or something. Just if you're really, really anxious about things like that. I mean, there's ways that you can be proactive to make yourself comfortable. The same with backing up. If you're concerned that, I'm going from a teeny tiny little travel trailer into this, a much bigger travel trailer or fifth wheel, well, just take a little bit and go find, like we did when we all learned how to drive, just go find an empty parking lot and then hope you don't hit anything too big.
But all in all, towing a fifth wheel is a much better experience, even with the few quirks, and even down to hooking up and unhooking, all of it.
Oh,
leveling.
So much easier, like so much easier to line it up. I mean, we've got it down, to minutes now, whereas I feel like that was years in the making before we figured out how to time it just right to line up the truck with the trailer, because there's all that. You put it in park. Is it going to go forward? Is it going to go back? Like, there was a lot of that, and we have a little bit more wiggle room now with how we hook up with the fifth wheel.
A lot of people want to know about the Anderson hitch as well. I'm going to answer that, I think, on next week's episode.
Yeah.
To sort of continue this conversation.
Yeah, and I actually would really like you to do a video on it as well, because, I think visuals really, really do help. Obviously, we can talk about it here on the podcast too, and it's great, but having some visuals as well as how we use it would probably be really nice.
Sounds good. Okay, let's take a break, and when we come back, Fort Wilderness, the greatest campground on the earth.
The most magical, Jason. Most magical, not the happiest. The most magical.
We'll be right back.
Be right back.
Electrical surge protection is one of the cheapest insurance policies you can provide for your RV, and the Power Watchdog Smart Surge Protector, made by Hugest Autoformers, beats the competition with field replaceable surge modules. With other brands, when the surge protector takes a large surge or a spike, you have to throw it away. The Power Watchdog can be brought back to life with one small, affordable part that you can replace yourself. They'll even give you a free surge module in the first 2 years, and now they have a limited lifetime warranty. Use the coupon code RVMILES, all one word, for 10% off your order at HughesAutoformers.com. That's code RVMILES for 10% off at HughesAutoformers.com.
If you've been thinking about picking up a Solo Stove, now is the perfect time. During the off-season, Solo Stove continues to offer discounts on their popular fire pits, including our favorite, the Bonfire. RV Miles listeners can save even more money by heading over to rvmiles.com/Solo Stove and using the link and promo code. Take advantage of all the discounts to be had before camping season starts and get your Solo Stove today. rvmiles.com/Solo Stove and then click the link and use the promo code to save even more. rvmiles.com/Solo Stove.
Welcome back. Hey, I saw that Solo Stove now has a new accessory for Solo Stoves. They have a heat deflector that goes over the top that sends the heat out instead of up, which is something they've been asked for a long time.
We need that.
I want one.
Okay. Wow.
So check that out. You can actually get that discount on that as well. We're here to talk about Fort Wilderness Campground today. Fort Wilderness Campground is Walt Disney World's campground, and it is huge. It is 800 sites.
800 sites. Can I say too, because that's a huge number, did you at any time while we were there feel like there were 800 sites in that campground?
And that's the thing, is that the sites are not packed. They're fairly close, but they're not packed in close like a lot of RV resorts are.
If you listened to last week's episode, then you know that they can be a wee bit of a challenge to back into.
Our site did happen to be pretty close to the person next to us, but
it did.
Most of them seem to have more space in between them.
The person on our driver's side had a ton of space between us, and they were kind of backed further as well, which was really nice. Now, I will say, though, that while we did have, our neighbor was kind of close to us, it does look like all of the loops also open up behind you to like a big sort of like, I don't want to call it a common area, but there's a lot of space behind us. Yeah. So even though we had someone there, and we were in loop 500, site 506, and I will say that even though we had people somewhat close to us, because of that back space, it didn't feel suffocating.
We also spent virtually no time in the campsite. So
Yes,
we'll get to that in a minute. But
this
I
is
want
also
to I want
true.
to start by saying we consider ourselves, I would say, somewhat Disney veterans. We're not the people that go every year, but we've been multiple times. I think we're pretty good at going to Disney. There's a lot, I think, involved in planning that, but we've
Yes.
never been to the Fort Wilderness Campground, and we've been hearing from people for years how great it is.
Yes.
We haven't been able to go to Disney in the last 5 years. This trip has been pushed back 3 times now. Uh, but we've been hearing about how great it is. We see on all these sort of lists of the top campgrounds in the U.S., it always ranks, if not number one, close to number one. So you're going into this experience at Fort Wilderness. I think I was maybe with too high expectations.
High expectations, yeah.
And really, all it is a very good campground.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that's like life altering, but it's a very good
No.
campground. They do a lot of extra touches that make it special. For instance, let's just talk about the hookups at the site.
Yeah,
All right.
let's.
So the sewer hookup is not just the round sewer hookup that you're used to. It's in a stainless steel basin with its own drain. So if you have any like additional spillage, it goes right down in there. The water hookup, there's two, and one of them has a hose already attached to it. It doesn't have an end to it, so it's for like spraying down the site or rinsing things, rinsing your sewer connection. It's already just like you would have at a dump station. It's already set up to go like that. Then the power connection, not only do they have the 50 amp and the 30 amp, there are like 6 20 amp outlets. So you can run all kinds of lights and stuff, and
Look,
people
you
do. They
can-
decorate like crazy.
You can decorate all the things. Someone still had Christmas decorations
Uh-huh.
up at their site, which, kind of gave us an idea of what it must look like that time of year.
Lots of Valentine's Day
Yes, there was
decorations.
a lot. Yes.
So it's those kind of touches. Every loop is fairly small and reasonable. Even though there's 800 sites, a loop doesn't have that many sites in it, and each loop has its own comfort station. So a bathhouse with very nice showers and laundry for each loop, which is really convenient.
So a thing about the laundry, we got stuck because we were coming from Tampa. We did get stuck having to do a lot of laundry there, and it is $3 to wash and $3 to dry. So it's expensive, but they are
but nothing compared to the price of the campsite.
but nothing compared to just buying a cup of coffee. But I will say about the dryers is that they give you a full hour. So, things actually get dry, right? They don't just give you 30 minutes for $3. So, we didn't have to add any additional, which we shouldn't have had to, but it was pricey. I tried not to think about it.
There are a lot of quirks, however, about Fort Wilderness and staying at Fort Wilderness. For one, you can't park anywhere. If you
No.
want to, you cannot drive your vehicle around to the different, it's a huge campground again, and the things that you want to get to, you can't park at them. You have to take a golf cart, a bicycle, walk, whatever it might be, in order to get or there's bus transportation that goes around constantly around the campground.
Now, we should say that the loop that we were in is considered a preferred.
We chose a
campsite.
premium, not
Or
preferred, premium.
premium.
There's preferred as well. We
Yes.
chose premium because it's close to the docks. So there's the entrance end, which they call the outpost, which is where you come into the campground, and then there's the settlement end, which is where the restaurant is and where the docks are. And the
and
docks,
one of the greatest shows you will ever
the
see.
Hoop-de-Doo musical review, which is
Hoop-de-Doo
not
musical
running
review.
right now, but we
No.
saw it
Several years
several
ago.
years ago. But you can get on the boats at the docks and take them over to the Magic Kingdom. Disney has 4 parks. Magic Kingdom is the closest to Fort Wilderness. You can also take the boats over there and get on the monorail. Actually, you'd have to take 2 monorails to get over to Epcot.
But only one to get over to Kona Cafe for some Tonga toast.
Or if you wanted to take the buses to the other parks. You can take a bus straight from that area to the Magic Kingdom. You can take basically you would have to get on. You right?
Sorry, did you hear that?
Yeah, the wind blew.
Was that wind?
Yeah, I think.
It did not sound like wind. It sounded like a small creature.
Basically, you have to take if you're not close to that area, or if you don't have a golf cart to get to that area, you're going to have to take a bus in the campground to get to a bus that takes you to one of the parks, or you can drive your vehicle if you have one. If you have a truck, if you're towing a trailer, if you're towing a vehicle behind your motorhome, you can then drive those to the 4 different parks. But getting around it is a little difficult, and a lot of people use golf carts. Either they bring them or they rent them from Disney. Now, we paid for this premium site because we wanted to be close to the docks, because we wanted this ease of access to the Magic Kingdom. I think next time I would rather pay for the golf cart and really not care about where our site is.
Maybe.
Well, it's just a long. We didn't get to explore some of the stuff in the campground.
No,
and
I
it's
agree
a long
with
way
you.
to a lot of things, right?
I agree with you.
Unless we had electric bikes, which we're thinking about getting.
Which we're thinking about, but we wouldn't have them for everybody, so that only solves, maybe
the
you
kids
and
can
I.
run next to us.
Oh, they'll love that, especially
But-
Jack. I would say though, yes, because when we got there, even though we were in this premium site, and I just want to clarify, there's 4 categories of sites at Fort Wilderness, and I just want to step back for a second and say, so they have, and the pricing ranges on all of these sites, and it also ranges throughout the year, depending on the type of season that you are going, off season versus summer versus the holidays.
It will change in the same week. Sometimes the
Yes.
weekend will be more whatever.
Yeah, and that's common too at any campground. You often pay more at a private campground for the weekends than you do for the weekdays. But in my research that I was doing, it does look like they start with pop-up and tent sites. Then you have full hookup sites, then you have preferred sites, and then you have premium sites. And the premium sites are going to be really close kind of to everything. So, like we did with this one because we weren't going to have a golf cart. They're going to range from the base, it looked like was, and this is going to be probably the pop-up or the tent site, in the office of off seasons, $76 a night. And then I noticed all the way up to the premium site during December, the first couple weeks of December, when they're really into the holiday season. Those I think were topping out at somewhere around $263 a night. We were in what is kind of considered an off season, like the tail end of an off season. February starts to get a little bit more expensive again. So we were not paying the premium price
But I think most people going for a hookup site are going to pay somewhere probably between $125 and $200 on an average.
And I think it's really important that you do look at this as a vacation site. Okay, like this is not common for us. This is not something that we do on the regular. This was vacation for us.
You have to take into consideration too, the cost of other Florida campgrounds is pretty high, right? There are a lot of Florida campgrounds that are over $100 a night. But also, you pay if you were to camp off site at Disney, you pay $25 every day you park at the parks.
Yeah,
so that's a big cost savings there.
I think if you're making the choice to go to Disney, you're making the choice to spend money. Now, there are things about Disney that I found frustrating on this trip, and we'll talk about that in another episode, but that wasn't necessarily the campground pricing, because it does come with a lot of other amenities as well that they have. They have a great pool. They've got tons of activities. They do a campfire every night. They do a movie every night.
I think a lot of people want to camp at Disney World in order to save some money and be able to afford going to the parks.
Absolutely.
And it does help. I mean,
that's what we thought we were going to do.
Yeah, did we? I don't know.
I don't recall.
But it is
20
cheaper
pounds I
than
gained while we were there says no.
than some of the hotels, and I think it is a better option than staying off-site nearby, unless you have like Thousand Trails Orlando or whatever it might be. But
even then, it's still you weigh everything against the cost versus your time. And even still, even if you're staying close by and you're driving in, you're still driving in and you're still standing in line. You're still paying to park. There, we would go, because we would drive the truck from the campsite over to Epcot. We did that for Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom as well. And that's still, if we wanted to be there for the extra magic hours in the morning, we would still leave 45 minutes before the park opened, because just that short few miles we needed to drive, that was the amount of time it took to drive over there, stand in the line, get through, get parked, walk, and hopefully be there right as the extra magic hours started.
Folks that have never been to Disney World before, I don't think understand how big it is. It is a half-hour drive between a couple of the parks. Easily.
So if I was staying off-site, I would easily tack on probably another half an hour to that. So if I wanted to be at the park at open for guests outside the park, that'd be 9 a.m. in some parks. I'd leave my house at 7:30, probably 7:45, just to get there.
We found the restaurant at Fort Wilderness to be one of our best dining experiences.
For the cost and for what you got, yes,
Trails
absolutely.
End Restaurant. Now, we actually never took the kids there because
that's not true. We took them for breakfast.
We
didn't
did
take them for dinner.
We did a breakfast.
We
with
did
them,
dinner by ourselves twice. So this was so here's a really great thing too about being at the campground or just being at Disney if you're an adult who enjoys Disney too, as your kids get older, is we were able to make some dining reservations that we've always wanted to do but not been able to do because we're not going to pay for our kids, $40 so that our kids can sit there and eat mac and cheese, like, a cup of mac and cheese. We were able, and we'll talk about the ones that we did next week, but we were able to go and have dinners, just the two of us. And what's great about the campground is, the kids were at home in their space that they know with their stuff, and we could walk the 7-8 minute walk over to the restaurant and have dinner.
Yeah, it is
awesome.
It's just a real convenient place to be an RVer, and we had a fantastic time there. Now, there is a little bit of an issue where I think a lot of people want to go to the parks on the day they arrive or on the day that they leave, and leave their RVs in the parking lot in the front, because obviously you check in at a certain time and you have to check out at a certain time. So there is an overflow parking lot at the outpost where you can potentially park your RV after you've checked out or before you've checked in and still go to the parks for the day. And we kind of planned on doing that a little bit, and it was just way overfilled. And particularly for our size rig, nearly impossible for us to find a spot to park.
For a business, a company that needs 4 million people in order to park you in the parks and direct you where to go and really has that down to a science, the fact that there was nobody at all sort of organizing this parking lot, and that, trailers that had ATVs on them were taking the RV sites rather than backing into the designated trailer site, that they had RVs just parking in the grass, that, it was just sort of like, it was chaos. It was a free for all. It was, I'm going to park where I'm going to park and y'all have to deal with it. The fact that there was nobody there directing that just was kind of
I think once we pulled into it, we knew that it wasn't going to happen.
And then you were stuck
in there. But we
still
wasted another half hour trying to get out of there because other people trying to get their site. So, if you have a smaller RV, you might consider that as an option. Or a smaller RV, you could just pull into one of the parks and park there. But I don't think it was I don't think it's something we'll consider.
Well, we could do it. And this is what I talked about. And this is something I've been thinking about, is that the next time we go, I had, again, to go back to that conversation from earlier of maybe our expectations being too high or kind of being, told that this is the creme de la creme of staying at Disney, you're never going to want to do anything else. That is not true for me. I still very much love the resorts, and I still very much love staying in the themed rooms. I loved the campground. But, listen, I got Grand Floridian dreams and I got Polynesian dreams I have. So my thing about, to go back to this parking lot situation, is that we had noticed that there were also throughout the time there that we had noticed several RVs parked there, but not hooked up to anything. And like you had talked about, maybe they're going off into the park or whatever. But it does look like, and we're going to investigate it a little bit more, that can be overflow parking if you are staying in one of the resorts and you have your RV with you. Maybe I'm wrong.
You spend a week at Fort Wilderness and then go spend 3 nights over at one of the big hotels.
Oh, it's like I've talked to you about this or something before, because you literally gave the exact time frame that I want to do our next. A week at the campground and then 3 days over at the Polynesian.
One of the things that is nice about staying at the campground at Disney World is it does allow you to have a little bit longer stay for your budget, which was nice for us to be able to have 2 full weeks there, which was just we spent way too much money, but it was...
Let's not talk about that, please.
It was long needed.
Yes, and we only did 8 days in the park, so we had 6 down days, which was nice to be able to break that up too and just be at home and enjoy relaxing on a vacation. And, I don't want to... I know a lot of people take issue with us saying that, because there is this idea that our entire life is one big vacation. And I can absolutely see where someone would think that. I totally get that. It is not, especially anyone who works from the road knows that it's not. We work and we have school and we have life. And it's been a very, very long time since this family has had a real vacation, probably since the last time we were at Disney. So to have those down days at home, where often down days at home for us are working, where we were not working and we were all curled up in bed watching a Disney movie or just, hanging out together, playing games, doing whatever, was just such a gift. It was such a gift.
It was.
And we really needed it. And I'm grateful for places like that, even though we paid out the wazoo to have this vacation.
All I was getting at with that is I do think we could have spent a little less money not doing the premium sites.
Well, no, Jason, at the end of the day, we could have spent a little less money not eating at
that too.
Dining
this is part of the thing. You talk yourself into staying longer, staying at the campground. I'm going to the campground in my RV. I can cook all my meals. It's going to be so much cheaper. And we cooked no meals.
We cooked no meals. It's what I said to you. This is why I missed the dining plan there.
And the golf carts, if you do rent them, are $63 a day.
What the heck?
So that's a challenge as well. But
this is why it probably shakes out to
it does shake out the same, but but I guess what I was getting at with the premium campsites is the campground is so big that they're not close to everything. They're just close to They're close to the settlement area. They're not close to the pools, that sort of stuff.
You've convinced me. I'm totally team cheap campsite. Rent a golf cart.
Yeah, cheap campsite. All right. So
think we could fit in one of those pop-up sites next time?
Probably not. So next week we're going to talk about some tips for actually visiting Walt Disney World, and it's changed quite a bit since we were there last time.
Man.
And there's lots of new things to know. Disney has definitely always, for us, been about really planning it. It's one of those places that if you plan it, you get the best out of your experience,
Jason
even though a lot of people hate to plan it. But that has become even more important now.
And almost impossible to do.
Yeah, and it's hard and harder.
Yeah. It's just a lot going on.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our Fresh Tank, Black Tank segment and more.
Be right back. Jinx, throw me a Coke.
It's never too late to cover your RV for the winter. Whether you own a motorhome, a travel trailer, or a truck camper, EmpireCovers.com is here to help protect all your vehicles against Mother Nature. EmpireCovers.com offers high-quality, affordable covers that are engineered to protect. Every cover comes with a free multi-year warranty to guarantee that it remains durable over time. If you're not in need of a full cover, Empire has just launched a line of RV rooftop covers that keep the roof of your RV clean and protect it from UV rays. Listeners can receive free shipping and 60% off the original price of their cover order. Visit EmpireCovers.com/RVMiles or use promo code MILES60, MILES60 at checkout. EmpireCovers.com. Protect what you love.
It is time to check the level of our tanks. Jason, what is in your black tank this week?
My black tank's pretty quick and simple. It's been the weather we've had since we entered Florida. We have just had rain and cold and rain and cold, lots of freezing nights.
Are you going to complain about the Florida weather when we left single-digit Illinois?
You know, but it's nice now. We
it's
have had
nice.
some nice days, and it's really nice right now. It did rain all day yesterday,
Yeah.
but right now the weather is kind of perfect.
It's kind
Upper
of perfect.
60s. We're outside, shorts and t-shirts, and it's just still air, not a cloud in the sky.
Let's hope it
Perfect.
stays that way, too, because we're boondocking next week. So
Yes,
let's hope it
exactly.
stays that way. All right, what is in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank is this campground, Moss Park Campground, which is actually in Orlando. It is an Orlando address. And anybody that has been looking for campgrounds in Florida in January and February knows that it is practically impossible. And this campground had tons of availability during the week.
Now, let me say, though, this, as I had started to say earlier, it's a 45-day rolling window, so you cannot book until 45 days, which is very, I know that stresses everyone out for Florida because everyone's booking a year in advance, right? It is busy. Now, what I find really interesting is this place is dead right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably only 5, 6, maybe 10 of us here. I guarantee you that starting when we leave on Friday, that it's going to be packed. And I did try to look, just 3 weeks down the road and put some dates in just to kind of see. And I couldn't find anything. I can't guarantee, I don't know. I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know why it's so empty. I booked this, 2 weeks ago?
We
3
got
weeks?
a tip from somebody in the RVMILES Facebook group on
No,
this.
Full-Time Families.
From the Full-Time
Families
Facebook
group.
And about this campground, and it seems as really it's a place where locals camp on the weekends.
That's why so many locals are mad at me right now.
Right.
Sorry.
But it is this is how campgrounds should be. I mean, resorts should operate like Fort Wilderness does. Public campgrounds should be like this. I mean, there's so much space between sites.
If you're watching this right now, or even pop over to the Our Wondering Family Instagram page, because I have a picture of our campsite on there. This is our site. Okay, our nearest neighbor is over there. And
To put in, I would say our nearest neighbor is. The nearest site is probably 75 feet away, but there's
Right.
nobody in it. Our nearest neighbor is probably 150 feet away.
And because of all the foliage, you don't feel like you're having dinner with your neighbor when they're, in their campsite. And wildlife.
So much wildlife. We've had sandhill cranes walking through here. We've had deer every single morning.
I can't hear a sandhill crane without thinking about that video.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Where I misidentified sandhill cranes.
But
well,
they
they are
came
this
here.
time. And the raccoons are even cute. The raccoons, there's like little baby raccoons, and it's like they're like Disney movie raccoons. They're not like trash eating raccoons.
It's a mama and baby.
There are gators up near the water. There's all kinds of wildlife. There are lots of trails here. It's a big nature preserve, and it's gorgeous. And a great bathhouse, really nice and clean and new, and long hot showers. The only complaint about this place, and then $22 a night.
Yeah, but we should also say no pets, and that is because of the alligators. But they absolutely have a 100%
No pets rule. The cell service isn't so great from either Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, and the people that work here are pretty grumpy. But other than that, it's been a
they're
great,
grumpy.
great stay.
They're grumpy.
What is in your black tank this week?
So my black tank is kind of an Olympics black tank, not necessarily the Olympics themselves, but Winter Olympics is my favorite of the two, and so I have been really excited to watch. I love ice skating. Listen, I used to grow up going to Discover Card Stars on Ice. Like, give me some Paul Wiley and some Christy Yamaguchi, like, all day long. But it has been really hard to watch these particular Olympics because so many, I don't know if the courses are just really, really challenging or if it's sort of the effects of the last 2 years and how hard it has been for everyone to train. I'm sure it's a combination of everything, but it's been so heartbreaking to watch so many people that were favored to win, like Michaela Schiffner, qualify out before things even get started for them. We were watching Shaun White last night and he goofed his second run, and then it was a question of whether or not he was even going to make it through into the top 12. One of the kind of a dark horse to win a medal in men's figure skating tested positive for COVID. He was on the American team. He's out now. There's just, when you know what everyone has put into this and how these only come every 4 years and how these are truly the dreams of so many people, and then you just kind of have to watch in somewhat real time as these crash
as her dreams
and
get
burn.
broken. Michaela Schiffner sat on the hill for 25 minutes.
Yeah, because slalom was like her, it was like her thing. And, knowing that she'd lost her father just within the last couple years and what that has done to her.
I thought you were going to black tank NBC's trash coverage of the Olympics.
Oh, well, it's always trash coverage. I mean, the fact that I had to stay up till midnight to watch Nathan Chen's probably the best men's short program I have ever seen, midnight Eastern. So y'all on the, West Coast, you were fine. But the coverage has been trash. China, I could get into a lot of the complaints from the athletes as to the conditions there, all of that stuff. I feel like that's all heavier conversations for a different podcast, but just from a empathy perspective for these athletes, it's just been breaking my heart a little bit to watch.
What is in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank is a little bit of some exciting news for us, or just in general. We shared yesterday that we are the cover story, the feature in the February edition of the RV Camping magazine, and I'm really fresh tanking all of the people over there for the beautiful job that they did on this article. I think it's 10 or 12 pages, and that they were able to take the photos that I sent, and what they did with that layout is so spectacular, and just how honored we feel that we were invited to be their cover story for February, and it's lovely. I read it and I cried. I immediately emailed Michael and I said, I'm just sitting here in tears because it's so beautiful, and I feel like you really captured really what is at the heart of everything for us, and that is our family and community and RVing. Those drive everything that we do, and I really thought the team over there did a gorgeous job.
It is free to read digitally, and we'll share a link to it in the description.
You can just head over to rvblogger.com if you don't want to wait to find a link in the description, because that might be a few days coming.
Well, it's also been all over our social media. So
go over to Facebook, Instagram. You'll see links there for it. Or, again, the RV Miles Facebook group. Y'all have been so kind when we shared it.
But that's why I said link in the description, because I know the show notes will be a few days coming, but I will put it in the description, which has to come out with the episode.
It does, but that is true. It comes out regardless if it's audio or video. The show notes, however, rvmiles.com/225, might be a few days coming. There's some website issues right now.
All right, that's it for this week's episode.
That's it. Wow. There we go. We're back. Hopefully we'll be a little bit more consistent going forward now that vacation is over. So that means you're going to get a really quick spiel from me. And that is just to remind you that if you are enjoying the show, boy, we could really use your support over on Apple Podcast. If you would head over there, leave RV Miles a 5-star review, especially this time of year as the camping season is starting to ramp up. That is going to put us in front of a whole new community of listeners, and we would love to welcome them here. If you are also doing some shopping for your camping season or just shopping in general, and you're going to go over to Jeff Bezos' website, this tiny little thing called Amazon.com, please take us with you. You can go to Amazon.com/shop/RVMiles.
Do you know what Jeff Bezos does before he goes to bed?
Counts as billions. I don't know.
He puts his I can't even say. He puts his He puts his pajamas on. He puts his pajamas on.
Oh my God.
Pajamas on.
Oh my God. I don't even know how to end this podcast now because Amazon.com/shop/RVMiles. And I promise you, Jason's dad jokes will not be over there. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to remember tonight to put our pajamas on and stay.
You didn't even say it right.
No,
pajamas on. No. Pajamas on. We're going to put our pajamas on.
Oh my God, I can't. Y'all, just keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.